But what's the point of the G7? Why are all these national leaders burning all that carbon to fly all that way? Let's explore that with Professor John J. Kirton, who's Director of the G7 Research Group at the University of Toronto. Welcome to DW. So let's start there. What's the point of the G7?
Well, most major problems today can't be solved by staying home alone. Conquering COVID, you mentioned the contraction of commerce, catastrophic climate change. They require the attention at the highest level and action by countries' leaders. And those leaders must go abroad to agree with their only real peers what they're going to do. And the best place to go is the G7. It's a compact club of the world's biggest, richest democracies. And it combines the greatest material power with the most attractive soft power of open democracy and human rights.
See, it's interesting that you describe it as a club of the biggest, richest democracies, because it wasn't always thus. Its nature does seem to have changed since they kicked Russia out of the G8 in 2014. And the fact that China is not part of it, one wonders how you can address global issues without Russia and without China.
Well, let's start with Russia. When it was incrementally admitted, became almost a full member in 1998, the key thing was it was committed to democracy and it was democratizing. And after 1998, the painful crisis was starting to get rich again. But it was suspended in 2014 because it invaded and annexed the territory of another European country, Ukraine. So it is democracy, which is, I think, the fundamental glue of the G7.
All right.
We saw that.
We'll perhaps talk more about Russia in just a moment. I want to talk about China first, because
Sure.
That will be a big part of this, to see if they can come up with some sort of joint way of dealing with China. But you have Joe Biden on the one hand, who's trying to effectively isolate China, and Europe and Germany in particular, who are trying to keep China at arm's length, but are still desperate to trade with them. Can those two philosophies towards the same enemy, if I can use that word, can they coexist?
Oh, indeed. In fact, these G7 leaders are far more united in their views on China, tough love, than ever before in the G7. We see that certainly in Italy. Mario Draghi, much more skeptical than his recent predecessors, who basically wanted to join China's Belt and Road Forum. And we see the voters in Saxony-Anhalt saying, we want to stay with the democratic values. And everybody is saying, I'm not sure Huawei should be given the inside track of our new digital economy, which we're building. And then you get into Hong Kong, arbitrary detention of citizens, Canadians, Australians, and others. And who knows which G7
so as you say,
country.
there's a lot of unanimity there. Just finally, let's talk about the fact that this is Biden and not Trump. How much difference will American re-engagement make to outcomes of G7 meetings?
A lot, but we have to remember that these summits hosted by G7 leaders actually did a lot, even with Trump there. The star of the show, Angela Merkel at the G20 Hamburg summit, Justin Trudeau at the G7 summit in Charleroi. But Biden will make a big difference. He's bringing all of America's power and the power of its ideals, re-engagement in the big international institutions, the Paris Agreement, the World Health Organization.
So, a big difference.
But he's saying not, I'm back, follow me. He's saying, I'm back to lead together with you. So it's shared leadership, and we don't always see that from our friends in the United States.
That's very clear, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor John J. Kirton from the University of Toronto.
Pleasure.